Thanks, Rory. Thanks to the panel. I'm very honored actually to give this talk, and the fact that many of the folks up here and have been speaking today are some of the inspirations for it. Relevant disclosures. I can talk the talk, but I'm still trying to walk the walk. Earlier this week I pulled an all-nighter finishing a chapter and some of the talks that I've been giving, so obviously still in the process. This came about actually, I've been inspired over the past couple of years really from some of the hardships of some of my mentors and the fact that proceeding through life, I just kind of pitched certain senior faculty as being superheroes. Nothing could go wrong. They had everything. Had career, had personal life, everything. And some have gone through some serious personal hardships recently. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to prepare myself as I move forward to learn from their situations and potentially avoid some of the downfall? Also, this is designed for anyone and everyone. I will go into some details and a couple of challenges to the audience at the end, but whether you're single or married or have 6 kids or aspiring to have children, this should have something relevant. So balance, it's different for everyone and different at different times. Balance for me now at age 41 is very different than what it was when I was age 20. These are myself and this is myself and my 2 partners, Lee and Christy. You can see, actually Ashwin in the back gave us this photo of the 3 Musketeers. There's one of my colorectal partners, Mark Whiteford, his wife, and 4 kids. Here's the group of the 14, soon to be 15, in our group with HPB, foregut, colorectal, and general and endocrine surgeons represented. There are folks that are single, folks that are married with kids, near retirement, just starting out. So to be able to design a recipe of balance for one particular situation is obviously futile because everyone is so varied. So my 9-minute agenda here is to define the problem of our lives and fix it. So it all started when we were kids. Kids as adults, that is. So I've been groomed as a clinician, an educator, and a researcher. You hear about that a lot, the triple threat. Go out there, be the triple threat. Let's analyze that a little bit. So here are my parents. Here's my wife. My dad just retired after 30 years of being a clinician pharmacist. My mom just retired after being a science teacher and college educator for 30 years. My wife is a professional researcher. They all work really hard and they're all wicked smart. And then along came me. And apparently, I'm supposed to be able to do all 3. So what does that mean? May start out just a little bit delusional about what we can potentially accomplish. Let's talk about that book chapter. Now, a lot has changed in the last 2 years, so I have to preface it with that. So this is, again, a very special 2 years. So the invitation for the chapter came out in November 2011, and my son Nathan was a blastocyst at the time. The chapter was due April 2012. This is what he looked like at that point. Now, it's overdue, and life is about to change radically. So you can imagine in terms of priorities where this chapter is falling. It's constantly number 3. I'm going to get to it, I'm going to get to it, I'm going to get to it. In fact, I had the chapter written and my fellow and I essentially had the draft. It was just a matter of going through those final edits. Seriously? The kids won. When did I get it in? Oh, I got it in. It's in. He's almost 2. So why? How did I not crucify it on this situation? Well, luckily the editors are my 2 partners, and they've let me know that I'm guilty, but not the only one. There are actually other authors out there, colleagues, friends, who are kind of running the same timeline. So what is wrong? Well, I think we've been groomed all along. We're really good in elementary school, high school, college. You're the superstars. So when folks ask you to do something, you have this compulsion to say, yes, I can do it. So let's go back. I was at UC Irvine for 4 years on faculty. It was a wonderful 4 years there. I had a meeting in Southern California in 2011, and the keynote speaker was introduced. And they very proudly mentioned that he is a member of 46 surgical societies. And I was sitting with actually an undergraduate medical, there was a medical student who was doing research with me. And he leaned in, and I thought he was going to say, wow, he's a superhero. He said, how much are dues for 46 surgical societies? Another scenario this year, DDW, one of our really good friends, very respected colleagues, has 32 abstracts. Like, wow, that is impressive, I think. Then I have to also think about the fact that how much attention can you give an abstract when you got 31 others that are going to be on at the meeting? So maybe, completely adequate amount, but that's a real challenge. So I do think in general we pack in a bit more than what we can do. This is actually a very timely scenario. Yesterday I'm with one of my best friends, Brian Smith, who's down at UC Irvine. He gets a phone call, and he's talking to the guy, and he hangs up. I'm like, what was that? He says, well, the chief of ENT at one of the local hospitals has appendicitis. I'm like, okay. Well, he says he's too busy. He can't go in to get it taken care of. So he just wants to know, what antibiotics can I get on so it can just maybe get operated on maybe on Saturday or Sunday night. I'm thinking to myself, if I have a guy in the ER with acute appendicitis and he tells me he's too busy for me to operate on him, I mean, you're crazy, sir. Yet, that's kind of what we do. Again, bite off a little bit more than we can chew sometimes. I like the term B&O. We're balanced, we're doing it all, but we're a bit overextended. For example, I'd like to think that I dedicate about 20% of my day to about 6 different things. And if you do the math, apparently there's nearly 29 hours in my day. So obviously, there's something to be left to be desired. So what's the solution to all this? And I think we really just have to take stock of who we are. Get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, and you have to know yourself in terms of what you want to get out of life. If you don't know, ask a significant other. Ask someone who knows you as well as you think you know yourself, a good friend. They'll tell you. Taking quotes from my millennial nieces and nephews, you only live once. So think about on the other end of your career. You're now 70. Hopefully you're able to retire. What's going to matter? What are you going to look back at and say, this was important to me, I'm so glad this is where I spent my time? Here are actually the responses of 3 senior mentors of mine. And actually Murray Brennan's the first one there. And he was discussing his life at Southern California chapter of the ACS, and he mentioned that he is now in the twilight of his career. He's been running a Memorial Sloan Kettering's oncology program for years and years and years. And he said that the stress level in his life is dropping because now he's at the twilight of his career, and he's really having a good time now, getting to know the members of his family that he hasn't really known for the past 40 years. And I thought to myself, wow, that's some serious sacrifice. Another one of my mentors mentioned that in their free time, the things that she enjoys the most is writing about the surgical sciences. Now, I'd like to think that I have a lot of other things going on. That's not the one thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, but it's really important that I do have friends and family that are that dedicated to a single entity, and they recognize that. Another member mentioned that family and religion were the things, and these are all senior surgeons at major respected institutions. Mentioned family and religion was the most important things in his life. And so again, I think self-recognition is important. Work hard. I think Dr. Calorie put it real nicely in terms of the tenure process, and you're going to need to. I haven't focused on it here because I assume everyone in the audience, the working hard part's not the problem. It's basically finding counterbalance. But don't take yourself too seriously along the road. Recognize that there are going to be bumps. There's going to be embarrassment. There's going to be failures. There's going to be successes. And just take it all in stride. You can say no. First, say yes. You're just starting out now. You don't have that many invitations on your desk yet. So you say yes. But I think what's important, for example, if you want to be the chair of the Flex Endo Committee at SAGES, and you're put on membership, embrace it. Do the best you can. Contribute as much as you can. But also let Sally or Rory or any of us in the leadership know, you know what, I'm doing everything I can, and someday I'd like to be on Flex Endo too. We'll take note. If you do a good job on membership, maybe you'll be able to get on one of the other committees that you enjoy over time. No, also, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not interested, not going to help out. I had to send an email to Mark Talamini a while ago because I apologize. I totally wasn't able to get a review in for Surgeon Endo on time. He let me know it's all right. Recently, I had to let him know. I actually clicked the unavailable box because I knew I wasn't going to be available to do the review. Hand was shaking as I clicked the button. Said, honey, I actually said no to something or unavailable, because that actually brings up who would you like to delegate in your behalf. And so I was able to delegate a good colleague who I knew had time, who was very enthusiastic about doing that review. And Brent Matthews recently asked me to give a talk for a SAGES resident course, and I knew I couldn't make it. Checked with my scheduler, Lisa, and she said, you're not going to be able to go. I said, well, I can do it. I can do a webcam in my office, or I can send the slides, or I can even nominate somebody who's in Columbus, all of 2 hours from Cincinnati. He opted for that option. So you're still able to contribute. So rather than saying no, say, this is what I can do. This is what I can do to help keep things moving. The impression that you leave is that I'm a player. I'm here to help. I'm a valuable part of your team. So remember, personal time is as important, if not more important, than work time. If you had 10 meetings with your chair and you showed up for 9 of them, early, on time, etc., and you're a little late for one, your chairman's going to be okay. If you let your spouse or your friends and family know that they are important and you show up for whatever engagement it is with them 9 out of 10 times, or you're at least keeping in touch with them, they'll let you slide. But if you start blowing off your family, you can expect the same response as if you start blowing off meetings with your chair. Probably going to get canned. But also remember, when you retire, your chairman will probably also be retired if they're still around. Your family will be there, so just remember that. So the solution I recommend is time is more valuable than money. It may not seem that way right now as you're getting out of residency and fellowship, but it is. So budget likewise. So for example, if you've donated everything you can to charity in terms of money, and someone comes, what we typically say is, you know what, I don't have the allotment this year, but we can put you on for 2015. The same thing goes for academic commitments. But you think, but if I say no, they'll never ask me back again. That's not true. Great folks are hard to find. Trust me, you're going to be in demand in 5 years. And I mean that specifically, actually, and there's a couple of female colleagues of mine who were heavily academic, heavily involved when we were fellows and residents. And they're starting to come back now, about 5 years later. And we've maintained touch the entire time. It's because they've been raising kids. So they had to put being at the podium on the back burner for a little bit. And now they're back. And they're super talented, and of course they're in demand. We are in control of our time. Don't think that we're not. There's single moms out there working 3 jobs. If they miss a shift, they're fired. We're physicians. We can take a day off to be with our families. We can take a Saturday afternoon to go in the office and catch up on medical records. The rules of Reavis do things for 2 reasons. One, because it's important to you, and because it's important to someone you care about. If it's not important to you or someone you care about, it's probably not worth doing. So the challenge that I have for you is write down your priorities. Not 10 of them, but 3 of them that are truly important to you. Also, take the next year and plot it out. Put down the meetings that you anticipate you want to go to. Put down the family vacations and the reunions and the important events that you want to go to. And leave some gaps. My partners and I definitely have situations where we can't make a meeting and we have to cover for one another. Communication, let those who are important to you know about it. Even if it's 5 minutes in between a case this afternoon, call your loved ones and say, look, just want to let you know I'm thinking about you. Because there are many times you're not going to be able to make it home for dinner, etc. You got to block time for each of the priorities in your life: work, self, friend, family. I'm not telling you how much, but have an agenda and make it reasonable. You don't have to be a superhero. Everybody in your family and your workspace knows that you're a superhero, but you have to be rational with your expectations. It'll make you a better doctor and a person. I was kind of waxing poetic about how to balance my life, and one of my senior partners, John Zilka, walked by. He said, Kevin, just take care of home plate. The outfield will take care of itself. Thank you.